Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborne, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. On today's show, we have our special guest, Ritchie Nkana. He's the owner of Body and Bank Vitality, helping operators to upgrade themselves by re-engineering from the inside out. So, Ritchie, thanks for being on the show. And I want to ask you a question I always love to ask. And it is this one. If you were to be able to have a time machine and go back to when you started your very first business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Jason, for being here. Yeah, I love that question. I think going back, if I was talking to my 21-year-old self or maybe 16-year-old self, I think it's persistence and be okay to make mistakes, right? Especially when you're that young, to make mistakes and don't look at them more as mistakes, more as lessons. How is it that you can invest those lessons? As my mentor once told me, you don't really make mistakes unless you keep on making those same mistakes, but they're just lessons, right? How is it you can invest those lessons and invest them into the future and not look at them as shackles to hold you back, but as an academy? So I think for me, it's all about persistence. I'm learning from mistakes and be ready to make mistakes because that's how we learn and we keep on refining.
Yeah. The whole idea of persistence in theory, I think people understand that. But what's one of the key things that you found in reality, the practice of it? Because it's easy to say be persistent if you're not going through something. But when you're going through a challenge, it's like, yeah, it's easy for you to say. What are some key tips that you've learned that help you actually stay persistent, even though the challenge you're facing at the time, you may not feel like it?
Oh, absolutely. That is a very good one. Yes, because at times persistence is a bad word, right? But yeah, I love how Al Ogmandino puts it, I'll persist till I succeed. And I think with that is succeed is have to have be clear on your purpose, the vision you're actually going after. It's not so much about the in between. So I think for me, it's about focusing on that end goal. Just like when you're doing a jump, right? You don't think about the in between, you think about where you're going to land. And for me, what has been so key and what I always teach my clients as well is having that deep enough reason why you're undertaking something. Say in
Mm.
business, if you go in business, business is not easy. It's tough. You're going to be smacked in the face. But how do you get back up? And what differentiates people that actually stick to it and those that fall off in the persistence of having that deep enough reason and be clear on the purpose you're actually going after. Right. Because once you're very clear on that, that promise is clear, the grind is easy. And that's what it
Mm.
is. Because it's never going to be always rosy. If somebody tells you it's going to be easy, they're lying to you. And I think it's deep enough reason, having that deep enough reason and having clear purpose, have clarity of that purpose and going after it.
Yeah, I love that. The idea of having that big enough reason why, and as you said, once the why is big enough, then the journey, the persistence, um, becomes easy in a sense because it's the challenges then get dwarfed by the overall reason why that you're going for, which is absolutely amazing. Is there a
Totally.
particular challenge that you've had in your business that you've gone through that was seemingly insurmountable when you were going through it, where you had to be persistent? And what's one of the key lessons that you've learned from that, other than just being persistent? But what was a big key lesson you learned in that challenge as well?
Oh, absolutely. Plenty I've actually learned because in different seasons of my business life, I think I came from the banking background. Then I went to consulting. Consulting was very, very different. It was very, very easy. It was more about the networks I had. I didn't have to do any marketing, right? When I shifted into the coaching space, it was a whole different ball game. You can have the best program, you can have the best product in the marketplace, but if people are not aware of that, people are not going to buy. Something I had to learn was marketing. And something I hated was like, if you knew me back then, I didn't have even any social media presence, right? It's those things I had to learn. How is it you can market? In the case, communication skills. I was one person that was very good at building systems for the corporate world and maybe communicating, yes, to the stakeholders and the like. But being able to communicate, say, to be able to have bring visibility to my product, communicating on stage, it's something that for me was very foreign and I had to learn. So those are kind of challenges I had to face. But what the lesson I picked from there is that at times when you're going, say, after your purpose or your business, at times you don't have to enjoy every bit of it. It's about how it actually connects to it. Like in my case, I don't really enjoy social media, but I have to use it because it's a means to the end of for me being able to sort of like reach say our clients that I work with, and I enjoy the coaching part of it. But at times that process to get there might not be as enjoyable, but it's about how you embrace it. So yeah, I think for me, so the lesson was that the marketing, I think, was one thing I had to learn to start off with. But the lesson from that is that you don't have to enjoy everything. Say, be it in business or whatever it is, it's about, again, focusing on that end goal you're trying to achieve.
Hmm. I love that. I love
Yeah.
it. It's my whole business is marketing and helping people specifically on LinkedIn. And
Yeah.
oftentimes people will say that to me. So, oh, well, it's easy because you love LinkedIn or you love, social media. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't
Exactly.
actually, I actually don't like it at all, but it's a tool, and I love that you said it because there are so many uh, areas in our business that we may not actually enjoy. Some people, as you said, maybe they like the coaching, or if they're not a coach, they may like the implementation, or, they're an accountant, maybe they like the accounting, but they don't like the management side, or they don't like finance side, or they don't, something like that. So I think that's a really, really great point, Richie, to pull out is you don't have to enjoy every bit of it, but if you tie it in
Yeah.
to that end goal, then you realize that, okay, it's with a purpose in what you're doing, which is absolutely just love that. That's a great, great thing, man. Are there any key areas as you're coaching um, these operators and owners to re-engineer what they're doing in their own life behind the scenes? Do you find any key themes that is just coming up with people that you think, man, if people could just deal with this one thing, because it seems like that's what everyone deals with. What is that one thing, and what's a one key tip to be able to help people with that?
Oh, absolutely. That's a very good one because, yes, like in Operator's Edge, we go four pillars. I think the very first one is what I call the operator, and it's all about energy and health. And I think for me, that's the foundation stone. For me, fitness has been my saving grace, but it also opened up a lot of cracks. And that's how Operator's Edge, I think, came to being because it was not just about the fitness, but at the same time, fitness and health is a foundation stone. Health or energy drives execution, and we don't get energy, we generate it. So I think for me, it's about how is it you can have energy on tap, right, to be able to execute. Because you can have the clearest vision, you can have the biggest ideas and goals, but if you're not able to execute, that falls flat. So I think with the operators I work with, we always start with that premise. That's a foundation stone, right? Energy, then we build up on that. We build up on vision, clarity of vision, which is the architect. Then we build up from that in the case of having systems. So we have systems in place that they can tap into to ensure everything actually flows through. Then obviously relationships fuels pretty much everything.
Yeah, I love that. Is there any key tips on that first bit that you were talking about to help people start making that move forward if they just feel stuck?
Oh, absolutely. So in the operator pillar, I use what I call Prime. And I got one founder I was coaching very recently he told me like, Richie, you know what? I can now do more by 2 p.m. than I could do all day, right? And that's the power of Prime. So Prime is a P is all about physiology, right? So physiology, again, you don't get energy. You actually you generate it. So in the case of
Mm,
movement, it could be exercise, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be like a long workout, right? And the R is in prime is about recovery, right? Recovery is something that is not spoken of enough. All the good stuff happens when we recover. So recovery is actually key. And the I is about our inputs. What are we putting in our minds on a daily basis? Be it the food we eat, be it what we put in our minds. Are we going straight for email as opposed to, say, journaling? Are we going for coffee instead of, say, water to start off in the morning? Those are kind of sort of like things that help in umping our energy systems. Then the
mm,
M in prime is all about mental conditioning. Are we thinking about what we're thinking about? And that's no play on words, right? Are we thinking about what we're thinking about? Because what we put in our minds is really, really key as well. As I said, is that we're looking, say, at email or news. We listen to the news as opposed to actually journaling or reading something that is more sort of like wholesome on a day
mm,
in the morning to sort of like uplift us. Then the E is all about our environment in prime environment. It could be our physical environment, or it could be the people we hang around with. Are they giving us that energy? Are they uplifting us, or are they actually bringing us down? Is the environment we in suffocating us? Because that's something as well that is not spoken of enough. Our environment can give us that energy boost, or it can actually drain us. So
mm.
that is a power. That's prime. That's just on the operator part.
Love that, man. I love that. Well, looking at your business and where you're going over the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years, what are your goals? What are you wanting to achieve?
Wow, that's with that one, I think it's something I've been thinking about quite a bit because I think Operator's Edge in the past, I've been very sort of like very selective as to the core group that I could actually bring in there because I wanted to bring that not only just the quality, but it's about how everybody kind of uplifts everybody in the program itself. I think the way I see it going now is how I can sort of like scale it because I feel operators edge is not just sort of like a program. This is a lifestyle.
Mm,
And it's all about how is it we can scale it and I get to more operators to actually embrace. I think all these key elements. The success is not one dimensional, right? Success is all about how is it you can win in all these domains? How is it you
mm,
can win and scale without burning out,
mm.
without sacrificing the things that matter the most to you? So that's
Yeah,
something I'm actually pushing forward. Now I'm pushing right now is how is it we can sort of like get people to recognize that, right? You don't have to sacrifice a lot, right, to be able to scale to get to where you want to get to. And
yeah,
yeah, and that is a mission I've got, I think for the next I think for the next year is to sort of like not just maybe double the current sort of operators I'm actually working with right now.
yeah. That's amazing, man. What a great goal. That's fantastic. Well, Richie, for anyone that's looking to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that? Do you have a website they can go to?
Yeah, the best way to I'm on LinkedIn on a daily, so that's the best way to reach out to me, Ritchie Nkana at yeah on LinkedIn. Yes, you can also look at my website, ritchienkana.com. There's a link to my book as well on there as well, my book website. Yeah, I'm on mostly LinkedIn. I respond to every message on there and X. That's it.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Richie, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute privilege to have you here. And as a reminder for everyone, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn. And that will be in the show notes below.